TsumaSho is here. Yes, the most controversial show of the fall 2024 anime season is finally here. The show that blew up the internet with its PV. A title, If My Wife Became an Elementary School Student, set the entire internet ablaze. So much so that it seems like Crunchyroll is trying to avoid that fire because they literally titled the show on their website, TsumaSho. They didn't put If My Wife Became an Elementary School Student like they typically do. They're completely avoiding that title, and I sort of don't blame them because, yes, it's a very misleading title. Yes, that's technically what the show is about, but it's not what the show is about. It's sort of one of those titles that kind of creates controversy when, honestly, the show itself is really, really good. And yes, after watching the first two episodes, I'm very thankful that they released the first two episodes right off the bat because I really feel like you need to watch the first two episodes to get a true sense of what the story is about. It includes everything in there. It includes the idea of family, loss, getting something back and not wanting to let it go once again, and just the things that sort of prevent them from being able to undo a lot of the regrets that they have. This story is extremely impactful. And yes, by the end of episode 2, I was crying my eyes out. Once again, just like I did when I read the manga, I bawled my eyes out. This show is a massive gut punch for anybody that has lost somebody or has that feeling of loss and regrets and missing that time that you once had. This show has it, and it does it so freaking good. The writer is an absolute genius, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get into my first impressions of the first two episodes of the anime adaptation of, again, TsumaSho, not the full title. Let's jump into it. TsumaSho opens up with Keisuke and Takae. These are these two that fall in love, and at some point they get married, they have a child, the child grows up, everything is going well, and then tragedy strikes when Takae, the wife, suddenly passes away. And this is something that just completely devastates the family. The daughter is unable to move forward, she's got nothing but dead-end jobs that she's working at. Keisuke, the husband, he is just absolutely destroyed. All the joy in his life has left him. He's filled with massive regrets, and the two of them are just not able to move forward. Well, one day, suddenly, the wife, Takae, shows up. But not the actual wife, she's dead. No, it's the reincarnation of the wife as this little elementary school student that is just at their doorstep. She quickly has to kind of prove this by listing out a whole bunch of things that only Takae would know. And yes, Keisuke's like, yeah, all that's great, but I know it's you because of how you talk, your demeanor and everything, the way that you speak and everything. Well, this leads Takae to pretty much say what she wanted to say and why she had to prove that she is the wife by scolding the hell out of them. Like, why aren't you moving on with your life? Why are you suddenly just stuck still? I wanted you to move on. Why don't you get a proper job? Why don't you go out and find a man or something like that? Why are you guys stuck here and not moving? Why are you eating convenience store food? She just scolds the hell out of him before going and leaving. Well, what follows this is that she shows up on a regular basis to give Keisuke some bento lunches because she's worried about his diet. Keisuke is just beside himself in excitement because the wife that he loves so much is back. He's able to talk to her. They're able to have conversations. They're able to go out to the park, being able to do all the things that they regretted not being able to do before. But unfortunately, their happiness cannot last because, yes, there's several things that are going to come in play here. One, that Keisuke cannot be seen with a random elementary school student that is not his family. Takae has her own family. She has a mother and responsibilities at school and whatnot. All these things that are just going to prevent them from being together. But they still enjoy a lot of the time they have together until eventually comes to the point where Takae's mother catch wind of the idea that she's going out and doing things without telling her. And this leads Takae to realize that she's got to finally break it off. That, yes, despite the fact that she's really happy to be with her family again. I mean, she was only planning on dropping by very briefly and telling them to kind of shape up, but she really likes being with her old family again. But she realized that society itself sees her as a child that is the daughter of this one lady. But when it comes time for her to finally break it off from her old family, she just can't do it. She finds too much warmth there, too much comfort, too much joy that she doesn't want to leave it. So my thoughts on TsumaSho so far. This show is absolutely fantastic. It easily goes down as the biggest case of don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by the title itself. And yes, I admit, I don't really like the title. I wish the title was different and somehow, like the idea of If My Wife Came Back or something. I don't know what the title would be. But yes, it's obvious this title kind of gives the wrong impression that the story is about a guy who falls in love with an elementary school student, or that his wife just became an elementary school student, or something like that. But the idea here is a reincarnation. And there's not really a sense here that Keisuke is in love with an elementary school student. It's just more of an idea that suddenly his wife shows back and then she's this. There's not a physical attraction here or anything like that. It's just simply the idea of a family that was once torn apart finally being able to come back together. After 10 years of being stuck in massive amounts of regret and depression and sadness, suddenly things are looking up again. But I think the thing that really did blow me away from the manga when I read it to kind of look into it and see what was going on here, the one thing that really stood out to me is not so much Keisuke's story, it's not so much the daughter story, it's more so Take's story, the story of the wife herself. And I'm so thankful for the idea that with the second episode, it gets into her side of the story, because from the get-go, the story is, okay, Keisuke is really into his wife. His wife was so great. She used to make bento boxes for him all the time. She was always tired, but she always did that for him. He really had a lot of appreciation for her. They had all these plans, these things that they wanted to do together. They just were a very strong family that absolutely loved each other. It's just, unfortunately, because of work and everything like that, they couldn't appreciate what they had. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, she's gone. And he's sad. He's like, crap, I didn't get to do all these things. All this massive regret kind of builds up into him. But thankfully, she shows back up, and he's super happy about this. But he just can't tell anybody. So he's like, crap, I love this so much. I wish I can tell people that this is a bento box she made for me. Man, I got to make sure that I eat that bento box because she worked so hard for it. He appreciates all these things that he did for him, and now he has it back. And there's that joy from that. But again, Take's story was really where it was at for me, because there is a conflict here. Yes, technically Keisuke has the conflict and the idea that he can't be seen with her, but he just doesn't really think about it. He just thinks about how he's happy, and he doesn't want to have regrets. Aren't you ashamed of being around in elementary school? I don't care. I don't want to regret this again. I don't care what society thinks about me being in the park, getting a bento box from you. All I'm caring about is that I get to talk to my wife again. That's all he cares about. Take's story is so much more interesting because it presents the idea that, again, she was reborn in this world. She had no recollection of her previous life. She's living in her new life, growing up as this one girl, and then suddenly out of nowhere when she's walking by their apartment, everything floods back into her mind. And suddenly she remembers everything. She remembers her previous life, her old family, and everything. And she was only going to peek at them, but then she realizes that they haven't moved on. And she's upset about this. Keisuke, I thought that you had gotten over my death already. You need to move forward. You're dragging down our daughter into that as well. You need to show that enthusiasm and move on with your life. You need to move on with your life as well. You need to get a husband, get a good job, all these kind of things that you need to move forward. You guys need to eat better. But I think the interesting thing is, from her story and her perspective, is it almost gives us indication that she just wanted to just peek in, tell him to fix things, and then go back to her life. Because again, society sees that this is my family now, not this family. My old family is my old family. I need to focus on this new family. But unfortunately, she doesn't have a good family. Her parents got divorced. Her mother is a wreck. Her mother just spends all of her money on really niceties and is abusive to her. She's afraid of her mother. Even in the manga, it gets in the idea that despite the fact that she technically mentally is like a 40-year-old, when she's in front of her mother, she's afraid like a child. She knows that she can't fight back. She knows that she can't push back because, again, society sees this as, this is my mother. I can't fight back against her. I have to submit, basically. But the gut punch that was in the manga, and it did it just so perfectly in the anime with episode 2 as well, is that feeling that, okay, I have to break off from this. I have to move on with my life. I can't keep coming back to my old family. Society would see that as wrong. Society would come down upon us terribly. I have to break it off. But then suddenly she doesn't realize it's her birthday, and they all celebrate her birthday together, and she just absolutely breaks in the midst of wanting to tell them, I can't do this anymore. And the things that Keisuke says when she's out of the room, just 1-2 punch, uppercut, total knockout for me. We just have to be there for her. So she's going through something. We can see it. She's struggling with something. We just have to be there to support her. We have to show her a good time, just like the old days. Even back with her old self, she always kept everything bottled in. She never expressed what she was going through, which is exactly what she did. She always worked hard. She was always tired. She always made me bento boxes, even though she had her own job. He knows full well how selfless she is. And to see her kind of crying outside, I was like, oh my gosh. She so badly wants to be there, but she can't. Society itself will not allow this. It's dangerous. I have to go back to my whole life. Mom will get angry at me. She will hit me. She'll lock me up or something. I think the thing that makes it hit so hard is that Take, all the way through the first episode and quite a bit of the second episode, has always been portrayed as the strong mom. The strong mom that always handled everything, and she's not like emotionally connected to the situation. She has moved forward. She has moved on with her life, and she's just trying to come back in here and set them straight before going back to her life. Like, everything's good. We've figured it out. Guys, correct your path a little bit, and let's just go our separate ways. She seems calm and collected and accepting the situation. But the second episode is where you finally get that realization of, no, Take is broken. Take is hurting right now. She wanted to do that. She wanted to be strong, but she's not actually strong. What Keisuke is saying is that, yes, face value, she seems like she got together. But inside, she's hiding it all. There's got to be something happening with her. She's hurting. She just can't say. She's always been like that. We just got to be there for her. Show that love. And the daughter's like, yes, because we're family. Of course we have to. It hurts. It's so good. It is such an interesting direction to take a storytelling in regards to loss and losing someone that you love and having that massive amount of regret and wishing that you could do all the things that you said that you were going to do, but when you had time, but you never did. All those things are kind of culminating with this story, and they're just doing an incredible job with adapting it so far. I'm loving it. I cannot express enough. Please give the show a shot. Don't go based on that title. I've only read probably another episode or two worth of content, but I'm really looking forward to new content and really getting into Take's story more. Again, like I said before, I think Take's story is probably the most interesting thing about this entire thing. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the show so far. It's just turned into a gush fest because this is kind of a story that I had a sense about. Really enjoyed the manga, what I read of it, and just to finally have it adapted is just really fantastic. I can't say that the animation is the greatest thing ever. I think they do enough for the series to make it look good. Aoyuki's voicing of Take is absolutely fantastic. They could not have picked a better seiyuu for this whole thing. I absolutely love her voice. So that's my thoughts on the series so far. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you think of the series so far if you're going to be checking it out. Just if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get my content. I do news reviews, first impressions, top list if it's animated premature. I'll be doing first impressions of all the shows of the season. If you like this content, you want to support channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it, but it does. Until next time, you'll take care.